Houston Astros and Carlos Correa are no more, which is a surprise, right? You know, with the way that things were going, you didn't hear anything about Carlos Correa for a really long time. And I was of the opinion that the Astros would find some way to bring him back, probably on some sort of a short-term deal. So I assumed when I heard that the Minnesota Twins had signed Carlos Correa that whatever he ended up being re-signed for was something that probably wasn't, reachable for the Astros. Something ridiculous. 10 years, $350 million, something like that. No, that wasn't the case. The contract that Correa signed with the Twins, per Mark Berman of Fox 26, 3 years, $105.3 million, with opt-outs after the first 2 seasons. You fucking kidding me? You couldn't match that? What the hell happened? How do you not match that? And I know that some of the people that listen to this podcast and watch this podcast online, twitch.tv/Gallant says, you're probably a Mariners fan and you're like, fuck yeah. If you're an Astros fan, this is something that I can't comprehend. Hell, if I'm the Seattle Mariners and I see this contract signed, I know you like J.P. Crawford and maybe you feel like you're fine in the infield right now, but I mean, the Mariners could have matched this. 3 years, $105.3 million with opt-outs after the first 2 seasons. I mean, where's the risk here? Especially if the Mariners are putting their chips into the middle of the table. And I'd say with the Astros, you've been to the ALCS 5 years in a row. You really think Jeremy Pena is going to be able to be anything like Carlos Correa? Maybe eventually, maybe. And keyword by maybe, I mean probably not. 3 years, $105.3 million. That's too much. So the question that I have, and if you're watching right now on Twitch, you can answer it yourself in the comments section. Outside of things getting personal between Jim Crane and Scott Boras, what's a legitimate reason for the Astros letting Carlos Correa walk? Because I can't fucking think of it. Seriously, what is it? And then I saw this tweet from John Granado from ESPN 97.5, my old TV show co-host on Just Saying on Q57, RIP Q57. And also, John hosts the show right before me on ESPN 97.5. He tweeted this out. The Astros ghosted Carlos Correa this week. James Click, general manager of the Houston Astros, said he would get back to them and never did. And Jim Crane did not respond at all to Scott Boras' text. Think about that. So Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, didn't respond to a Scott Boras text. To me, there's only one way to read this. Clearly, things got personal between the two. And I kind of get it. Go back to the 2019 World Series, where Garrett Cole, immediately after Game 7, is in the locker room, essentially doing his farewell to Houston while wearing a Scott Boras hat. I would have been pissed off if I saw that and I'm Jim Crane, especially after all I had done for Garrett Cole, revitalized his career, paved the way for him to eventually get paid by the New York Yankees. And here's this Hessian, immediately after the game, a hired gun, wearing a Scott Boras hat. That would piss me off. And maybe there are other things that are going on behind the scenes. I don't know what was going on in the negotiations between the owners and the players. I know that Scott Boras, for a lot of people believe that he was behind a lot of the things that the players were pushing for. He's a really smart guy. I don't blame the players for bringing him into the conversation and talking with him about maybe what their best plan of action is. But I just can't help but think that this turned into a dick measuring contest between Jim Crane and Scott Boras. And that can't happen if you're an owner. You can't get petty. You can't let things get personal. And I hope I'm wrong, and I don't think we'll ever actually get the truth as far as why things broke down between the Astros and Carlos Correa. But 3 years, $105.3 million. You really think that the Carlos Correa team, squad, posse, entourage, whatever the hell you want to call it, you really think his court, you think that they did not come back to the Astros to show him the offer? You really think Carlos Correa wants to go from Houston to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it's freezing cold at the beginning of baseball season? Do you really feel like that was something that he wanted to do without any fight at all from the Astros? I doubt it. I bet he came back to them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a really hard time buying into that. And to see that from John Granado, that they ghosted him, look, I'm not even going to put this on James Click. I would put this on Jim Crane. Jim Crane hired after Jeff Luhnow got fired, James Click away from the Tampa Bay Rays. And, I can't help but think if you're going to hire somebody from the Tampa Bay Rays, of course the person's smart, but that person is also somebody that you look at and are probably thinking to yourself, this person's always going to operate in a financially responsible manner. Sorry, if you have been to 5 straight American League Championship Series, you can't operate that way. You aren't the Poors of baseball. As things go right now, you need to keep this run going. This is probably the best run that Astros will ever have. And you're just going to let it end like this? I'm not saying that Carlos Correa walking means it ends, but you've been to 5 straight ALCS, and this is a deal that does not hamstring you for 10 years. This is not going to turn into what we have seen in the AL West with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, of California, of the United States of America, of North America, formerly of Pangea, of planet Earth. That is not something that you would imagine would be able to happen in 3 years. 10 years from now, sure. 3 years, $105.3 million. It's a lot on an annual basis. But, what are you giving to Justin Verlander? Verlander's 40. And you gave him a deal similar to that. That gave you some short-term flexibility. I don't get this. I don't get it at all. And I need somebody to explain to me what is a reason that they would have let him walk.